Bosses in video games. You love them, but do you really know them? Their deepest, darkest secrets? Their social security number? Or just how to turn them into a pile of goo faster? Boss fights are a cornerstone of game design, but it's easy to make a boss fight that just goes through the motions. A fight where a boss runs out of health and you move on without thinking about it ever again. Boss fight secrets give a game dev the chance to add layers. They can take a flat boss and spice it up to add nuance and depth of flavor. But there's tons of ways to go about putting secrets into a boss fight. What can you do with a boss secret anyway? That's today's episode. Let's talk about boss secrets. Yes! Oh my god, my package is finally here. This is gonna be so good. I got the hottest product of the month. Today's sponsor, Mantasleep. They make comfortable sleep masks. You like to sleep, right? Some of their masks, like this one, have Wi-Fi speakers built in too, so you can fall asleep to music or podcasts. What a world.
It is pretty comfortable.
Longer, brighter days in the summer can affect your sleep without you even realizing it. Sleeping with a mask on can help keep the earlier sun from disrupting your circadian rhythms, and that can help you sleep better. It fits every head, and it's comfortable no matter how you sleep, side, stomach, or back. Perfect vision blocking, and it connects to any audio you want via Bluetooth. It is really comfortable to wear for a long time. Actually, this would also be kinda perfect for blindfolded speedruns of games, as an all-in-one headphones and blindfold thing. Click the link in the description and use code DESIGNDOC to get 10% off a Mantasleep mask. Thanks, Mantasleep. Secrets can come in many forms. Boss secrets are no different. And these secrets aren't all just there for funsies. Well, some of them are. The right secret in the right place can completely change how you think about a boss. Let's break this up into parts. Okay, probably the most common way to implement a boss secret is the quick kill. Any secret that lets you take care of a boss without going through the normal path, to make the boss easier, shorter, more attractive. Maybe not that one. The devs of Super Metroid designed its major bosses with blatant weaknesses in mind. Most of them are fairly traditional, like a big eyeball as a weak spot, or an open mouth. Dragon, the third major boss, normally gets bodied with missiles, but he has a much cooler secret weakness. If you break open one of these armored turrets on the walls, you'll reveal an open electrical current. Now all you gotta do is get grabbed. As Dragon flies around with you in tow, switch to your grapple beam, and hit the current. Bzzz! You fry the boss, instantly killing it. It's very efficient, and it's a cool out-of-the-box thinking moment that pays big rewards to a player trying to creatively use their tools. One of the programmers, Yasuhiko Fuji, had this to say about the Dragon quick kill. That was part of our overall design philosophy for the bosses, that they all needed to have a weakness somewhere. With that in mind, we wanted to add something surprising for players. It was also done for people who keep dying to that annoying W swoop attack of his. We wanted it to be this eye-opening moment. Like, whoa, you can do that? These quick kills don't happen all the time in the series, but they do show up a lot. Metroid Dread's second boss is Kraid, who you fight in a superheated room while wearing your newly acquired heat-resistant Varia suit. In the second phase, you have to shoot his belly to bring down a magnetic panel to get a clear shot at his head for some real damage. But there's a nagging detail in this room. There's a morph ball launcher in the corner, which requires a power-up that you don't normally have yet. If you come back here after the Kraid fight, the launcher doesn't do much of anything. But it's not here by accident. That should get a player thinking, what am I missing? The placement of the morph ball launcher is hinting at one of the most fun elements of Metroidvania design, a sequence break. After getting the Varia suit, you could have chosen to backtrack to Dairon and see what your new suit can do back there. There is a superheated area that you can walk into now, and a couple secret blocks you can shoot, then a long hallway you can traverse early with some tricky coyote jumps. You do all that, and you get the grapple beam early. Use that to clear out yet another block in Dairon, and make your way up to the morph ball bombs. Now, take on Kraid. Activate the launcher, bomb Kraid from the inside, and you've got yourself a quick kill. One block in one standard room suggested the presence of an entire chain of side areas to explore. It's a pretty cool way to sidestep a boss fight, not as an exploit or an oversight, but as a hint at a secret alternate path. It's not meant to be done on your first run through, but it should get a first time player to think harder about what secrets are out there, and look around for details beyond the simple path in front of them. It's also important that it's not a one-time thing in Dread. There are other sequence breaker moments that can spice up playthroughs for curious players. Even in just the crate fight, the grapple beam without the bombs gets you up to the head easier. Another sequence breaker power-up, the flash shift, gets you yet another way to inflict massive damage. Or the quick kills that you can pull off with the shine spark, if you have enough room to run. Even if a game only puts in a small handful of secrets, players searching for them will feel like there are far more. What else can I do? Is one of the most powerful questions you can get a player to ask themselves. All the secret ways to approach bosses in Metroid Dread help make the game feel much richer and more complex. But what's quicker than a quick kill? What if you didn't need to fight the boss at all? Next up, the boss skip. Being able to completely pass a boss without fighting it can be a big reward for players in the know. I can't think of a boss with more ways to skip it than the End. The End is a legendary fight in Metal Gear Solid 3, full of rich details and a shocking number of hidden features. From his pet parrot, to time shenanigans you can do, to all the distinct ways you can go about finding the guy in this dense forest. There are so many secrets in this. I only just learned about the Konami code one. If you open the map and input the code, you can straight up reveal the End's location on the map and completely cheese the fight. But if you hate fun and know one weird trick, you can make sure the fight never needs to happen at all. After a cutscene that builds up the game's gallery of villains, including the End, the characters stick around the area when you regain character control. If you want to skip the fight, I've got a secret for you. It's called a gun. Pull out your sniper rifle, and you can end him right there. Congratulations, hero. You did it. Later, with the End out of the way, instead of fighting him, you get a boring fight against a bunch of mooks in the same arena. You won. Even though killing the End early is the least dramatic way to do it, I love it for its sheer audacity. A quiet, post-cutscene moment broken by you thinking outside the box, him still doing the dramatic End, and an exploding wheelchair makes up for its lack of complex gameplay by just being really, really memorable. I think it's really satisfying when you can take care of a boss before it becomes a problem. You could think of it as anticlimactic, but since you almost always need to already know what's about to happen to pull off the trick, I don't think there's actually a downside. Yoshi's Island has a great one with Naval Piranha. Most of the game's bosses are normal enemies that get enhanced by Kamek's magic. After you catch on to the pattern and see Kamek show up again, you might start to think, maybe I should be stopping this. Often you don't get the opportunity, but for the third world boss, you can. The Naval Piranha has a very small window where it's still just a little guy. If you can fire an egg and hit him before hitting the cutscene trigger, you just kill it right there. You even get the light show for winning, and Kamek is not quite sure how to handle it. The boss is a bit tricky to deal with normally, so it can be really satisfying to sidestep the fight when you know what you're doing. It's not that dramatic, it's not that weird, but it is a little satisfying. And a smattering of these little extra optional details can be just the thing to help round out a game. A great boss secret doesn't have to be about an elaborate side quest or quick reflexes. Sometimes the secret was in you all along. Or in your pocket. You can make a secret out of a game's existing items by giving them surprising behaviors. Zelda often likes to let you use a joke weapon to fight off or distract its bosses. Ganondorf's projectiles in Ocarina of Time can be reflected by an empty bottle. He can get distracted by a fishing rod in Twilight Princess, and you can get a cheap shot in. Demise in Skyward Sword can't resist a bug net. The series isn't afraid to undercut the intimidation factor of their most imposing bosses by adding some surprise function to impractical or straight up useless tools. It's pretty funny. Other secret Zelda boss takedown strats are a lot more obtuse though, like in Wind Waker. The boss of the Forbidden Woods is Kali Demos, and it's not that weird of a fight normally. Use the boomerang you just got to expose the boss and wail on it for 2 or 3 cycles and you're done. But there is one way to do it faster. Before facing the boss, go back to the Forest Haven, right outside the dungeon, and scoop up some Forest Fresh magic water. It's normally meant for a side quest that you can't do until much later to bring a bunch of trees back to life, but we're using it now. There's a 20-minute timer before this delicious vitamin water turns into gross regular water. So hurry up and go fight the boss now. No one knew about this trick for a decade after the game's original release, but if you can dump the magic water on the boss, you win. The Forest Freshness was both acid and C4. It's not really practical to do, or any faster in a casual playthrough really. The boss is easy, and the walk to get the water takes a bit, and the timer keeps you from getting the water before starting the dungeon. But it's fun for its own sake. If you love Wind Waker, like a lot of people do, it can be satisfying just to see something new in a game you thought you knew everything about. No other boss in Wind Waker has a secret like this, so people finding it 10 years later was a treat. And really, without it, was anyone ever going to talk about Kali Demos again? Resident Evil 4 Remake has its own goofy item quick kill. In Chapter 4 and Chapter 12, there are hidden golden eggs you can find. You could sell these for a lot of money, or eat them for a heal, but there's a more fun option. Bring one to the fight against Ramon Salazar. You've found his Achilles heel. Toss an egg onto his human body when it's exposed, and you'll do a whopping 70% of his health, plus send him into a stun lock state. If you happen to bring both eggs with you, you can take him out right there. Doing this fight normally is actually a little tough, so this is a funny backdoor option to get you past this fight, if you really want it. There isn't really much of a hint as to why he's allergic to golden eggs, other than a side quest that has you throwing a normal egg at a portrait of Ramon. So maybe it could have been improved a bit by mentioning an egg allergy, or something to sort of point you in the right direction to be a little less random. But this is another example of one small secret item tweak being able to create a new boss behavior that can pay off big. Alright, I do love them, but secret item behaviors don't have to be random Easter eggs. They can be deep, meaningful references, and can be great ways to tie together lore and gameplay. One of the earliest bosses of Bloodborne does this with a tragic twist. Father Gascoigne is a veteran hunter you can fight alongside early on. However, he soon will fall victim to bloodlust, becoming no different than the beasts he hunted, and must be put down. Since he's a fellow hunter, this fight feels like a fast and tense PvP match. It's an early game wall and a skill check before you get too much deeper into the game. It's not an easy fight, but if you've been paying attention to the story and doing a bit of side questing, you might be able to get the upper hand. Before fighting Gascoigne, you can run into his daughter, who will give you a tiny music box with a description. A small music box received from a young Yarnum girl plays a song shared by her mother and father. Inside the lid is a small scrap of paper, perhaps an old message. 2 names can be made out, however faintly: Viola and Gascoigne. That's the guy. You can use the tiny music box during the boss fight. Gascoigne will reel back and stagger as the fading version of the man he was surfaces again, just briefly. You can't use the music box to bring him all the way back, but you can get some good hits in at least. Don't get too carried away with it though. If you use it too much, you'll skip to the more feral second stage of the fight early. The tiny music box is a very simple and easy to find secret, but it does help Gascoigne stick out both as a character and an early game boss. Muffet in Undertale is another cheeky one. Originally added as a Kickstarter backer reward, she wound up with some secret item hooks all the same. Going through Hotland, you'll eventually get to this room full of spiders. You've seen spiders around before at a bake sale or two, but maybe you gave them the wrong impression. Muffet is all too happy to fight you, and assumes that you've got some anti-spider agenda, so she's going to bake you, I guess? I don't even know where she got the idea that you hated her bake sale stuff. You bought some, right? Maybe now would be a good time to pull out a receipt. If you bought an item in the Ruins bake sale, kept it, and then use it mid-fight, the telegram that ends the fight will show up immediately, with some unique dialogue. If you bought the ridiculously expensive stuff at Muffet's bake sale table, she won't even fight you. It's not a huge skip, But it's not like the sequence is out of place in this game. It fits perfectly, in there and in this very section of my script. It's a secret item behavior that causes a boss skip and has story hooks, all in one. What a savings. When designing a game, the story and gameplay can sometimes behave like oil and water. They don't always want to mix naturally. That's where you get the dreaded ludonarrative dissonance. The right boss secret in the right place can be used like an emulsifier, an ingredient that helps keep the two mixed, to try to head off ludonarrative dissonance before it takes hold. In Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker's Myths of the Realm Alliance raid series, there's a pretty funny Easter egg. This raid basically pits you against every divine member of the 12, effectively the FF14 version of the Greek pantheon. As you can imagine, each of these gods and goddesses have a very strong background presence in the lore, with a wide array of mythological stories putting them in the middle of a lot of what's going on in the land of Eorzea. That lore isn't just window dressing. If you're paying attention, you'll see plenty of nods in many of the boss fights themselves. One of the last fights is against Limlaen, an unpronounceable watcher of the seas and the goddess of navigation. The fight's pretty standard. She'll throw tide and wind-based attacks your way, but she also houses one of the very few moments where you can impact combat with a player emote. If you dare blow her a kiss, you'll get smited, struck with her trident down to 1 HP, and she tells you to cut it out.
Oi! Cut it out, you!
The Easter egg is a nod to the in-lore story where she threw a knife at a peeping Tom, which was one of the other gods. It's very Greek pantheon. There's no good reason to do this, it's just a funny Easter egg. But of course, since this is a big 24-person raid, there's going to be someone in the group who just can't help themselves. It almost never fails where some wise guy nearly gets killed for the bit. The lore is an obscure corner of 14's greater setting, but this small mid-fight mechanical change helps make the game's world building just a little bit richer and makes it feel like the devs are paying close attention to the minute corners of their own work. Secrets can be the mechanism to reward players who go above and beyond, and what could be a bigger reward than unlocking a game's true ending? The Castlevania games that Koji Igarashi directed do this all the time. Secret win conditions and key bosses lead to the true ending. If you don't know about it, and you just fight these guys head on like normal, you will get basically no story resolution. The dreaded bad ending. You're supposed to first acquire special items or abilities while exploring. If you use them in the right way, you'll reveal the true secret, actual, real final boss for real, who's been pulling the strings this whole time. And then you can kill him and get the proper finale. Symphony of the Night is the classic case. One of your primary goals as Alucard is to find out what happened to Richter Belmont. However, once you find him in Dracula's throne room, you'll find that he's turned against you. Fight him normally and get the bad ending. Obviously, there's more going on with Richter here, and it'll take a bit of a detour to figure it out. In the castle, there are special areas to explore that hold a gold and a silver ring. Those let you open a secret path in the clock room, where you can reach the center of the castle. That's where the holy X-ray specs live. And those let you spot the power controlling Richter, the Dark Priest Orb, and his shaft. Kick him in the orbs, and not only do you get to save Richter and unlock the better ending, but there's a whole inverted castle you get to fight through, and even more bosses to take out. That secret win condition on the fight takes full advantage of the Metroidvania structure. The game's supposed to be about exploration and discovery. Combing through every part of the castle is what's supposed to be fun, and doing it faithfully will lead you to the most satisfying outcome. Not just the better ending, but tons of more places to explore and things to fight. Igarashi loves the pattern so much, he put it in the Sorrow duology and the Castlevania's spiritual successor, Bloodstained. Turns out it's fun in those too. Boss secrets fit perfectly with criteria for true endings. It's a big reward coming into play at what should be the most climactic moment of a game, granted for being perceptive, clever, resourceful, or just plain dedicated enough to gain hidden knowledge. What player wouldn't love that? I know we haven't mentioned your favorite boss secret. I might have never heard about it. It's a secret. But you can right this wrong by pouring your heart out in the comments. I'm looking for anything interesting, from the kinds of secrets that make dramatic changes to their game, to the small little Easter eggs that are just fun to talk about. Boss secrets seem like small details, but high quality is built from small details. Any secrets that tie your boss to the world, make your players think a little harder about motivations or mechanics, or even just show off a little more personality, can make any game boss worth fighting.